All right, what's going on, folks? So this particular video, we're going to be looking at a question that I get asked a lot, and it's like, what makes Linux the best OS? And quite simply for me, and it's because the way Linux works for me is it's the best appliance OS. And it doesn't matter distribution because at the core, at the end of the day, they all run the Linux kernel. You know, you can get into the, oh, it runs GNU. I don't really care about that crap. At the end of the day, the heart, the thing that controls it, is the Linux kernel. So for me, I view things like, cell phones and computing in general, any computing technology device that has control over it in some way, shape, or form makes Linux the best. Makes Linux the best OS for appliances. I mean, Sony's used the FreeBSD and Linux, and the Steam Deck runs Linux, or specifically Arch. But the way I view technology is appliance based. I don't do this like kind of like generalized view of technology. Like if you don't have a function, get the fuck out kind of deal is how I really define my use of technology. Like this particular machine that I'm using right now, yes, it's a custom built. Yes, I do generalize things on the OS, but its main function is not the generalization stuff that's like ancillary. Its primary function is gaming and video content and audio content creation. That's its primary focus. All the ancillary stuff, even if I couldn't do it, it's fine, whatever. I wouldn't care. I have machines that I have that I can't do that stuff on, and guess what? They work perfectly fine for what I need them for. So for me, it is very flat as far as how I view technology. I've always told the people how we should be selling Linux as a gaming OS is via the console mentality. And I'm saying that based on my approach to technology in general, which is view it as an appliance. So it's one of those things where if you tend to view it more as an appliance mentality, it's just a simpler understanding for people to grasp when you tell them, oh, it does this, it does X, it does Y. All the ancillary shit doesn't matter. Yeah, the Xbox is a game console. All the ancillary shit that it does, messaging and all the other fun stuff that people like, it doesn't really matter. That's just, it's an ancillary thing. It might matter to somebody, but its primary focus is what matters. Same with, PS4 or Switch, whatever, insert appliance here. I mean, you can say, refrigerator keeps things cold, freezer keeps things frozen. But you could use it also for storage if you stick shit on top of it. So, secondary purpose. It's ancillary, but guess what? It still has a purpose. And that's kind of really how I view technology, just as a whole. And honestly, I think Linux fits the bill for being the best in that frame of mind. Because unlike Windows, which tries to be everything to everyone and fails at everything in the process, generically, it's not a horrible platform. I'm not going to say that, but it definitely has problems. Can be purpose built. Windows starts as a general OS and tries to be specific OS, and it fails when it goes from that. It's kind of like the way Linux works is, it starts out as a multi-user system design wise, whereas Windows started a single user system and you try to go to multi-user. So you go from single to multi when your initial concept was single. The use case is very, very different, and the way you go about understanding that is very different. Whereas so you're trying to build out from one to multiple, applying that one logic to everything. Whereas with Linux and the multi-user approach is you can build down to that specific. You can tear out modules, you can tear out this. Whereas if you tear out certain things in Windows, it just don't work anymore. And that's a lot of the problem. You can get into Windows Embed and all the other stuff, but you take certain elements out of Windows and it still just doesn't work. Mac OS, while purpose built because FreeBSD, Mac OS is Mac OS, and what you see is what you get, and on the hardware you get, and that's it. Uh, Props to people like DOS Dude One for still making some of those Intel Macs work. But for me, Linux is always going to be the best OS if you have an appliance mentality. It's the best OS for appliances for me because I view every piece of technology, even video games, as an appliance. So, of course, I'm going to view it as the best OS in that case.